Welcome back to the podcast. A few months ago, I did a podcast that was all about how to parent a teenage boy. And on that episode, I said, I'm going to do the same thing for those of you who have girls, and I'm finally getting around to it. Of course, I know many of you have both. So that episode could help you there. This episode can help you here. And for the purposes of this episode, I am speaking about parents who have teenagers who identify as female. So without further ado, I'm going to dive in and give you 10 tips on how to parent a teenage girl. This is something I know a lot about because I am female and I was raised female. And also I have 2 teenage girls of my own. So I've been through the ups and downs of it all. And my heart goes out to you. Parenting a teenager is not easy. And also parenting teenage girls has added layers of stress. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of them on this episode. So before I dive in, I also want to make sure that you know the last day to register for my workshop, How to Talk So Your Teen Will Listen, is today. So if you're listening to this on the day this podcast episode comes out, go ahead and register and secure your spot. If you're listening to this after, know that the replay will be available and you can access that on my website. So let me go ahead and dive in. I'm going to be sharing 10 tips to help you navigate these teen years. And most of these tips I have practiced and I take into account into my life, into raising my teenagers myself. As I record this episode, my youngest daughter is starting her senior year of high school. How did we get here? I've also got a 19-year-old, so I'm almost out of the teen years with her, which is just crazy. And I have to say, those of you who are listening who have a teenager or a preteen who isn't quite at the teenage years yet, know that it gets better. It gets easier. It gets more harmonious. And to hang in there, they will come back around. I think I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but there's kind of a theory out there that I like to imagine is that teenage girls go through what I like to refer to as the tunnel as they develop. So when they're little, they're young, they want to be your friend, they want to hang out with you all the time. They're just a joy to be around. And then all of a sudden, they're gone. They don't want to be with you. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be around you. They don't want to watch movies anymore. They're just gone. They're in the tunnel. They're in this phase of development where they need to figure out who they are. And as such, they're pulling away from you, but they do come out of the tunnel. I can't tell you exactly when for your daughter, but she will. She will come out, I promise. So let me go ahead and dive into the 10 tips for parents. The first one is just in line with that time when your daughter starts pulling away and stops wanting to hang out with you. There's an acronym that I like to refer to, and that is Q-tip. Quit taking it personally. The way she's acting and behaving likely has nothing to do with you. You may be an annoyance to her, and so she may take it all out on you, but it's not because of you that she's acting this way. She's probably not even thinking about you when she's going through her day. I know, ouch, but it's true. She's going through a lot, okay? So when you're thinking and you're feeling like she's pushing you away, or she's maybe she's angry and she's pushing back at you, it's so tough, especially when last week or last month she wanted to be your best friend. She was your best friend. You did everything together. It's hard. Just acknowledge that and recognize it, but also acknowledge and recognize that it's not necessarily you, okay? This is one of the social effects and emotional effects of her going through puberty. She's pulling away from you. It's necessary for her to do this, and at the same time, she's also going through her roller coaster. Girls typically hit puberty at around the age 11 and then are fully developed. Their body is fully developed by 14 to 16. So they're in this really rapid period of growth to where their body may not match their internal maturity. So on the outside, they look super grown up and they look super mature, but on the inside, they're still young. They're still developing. They're still figuring things out. And with that figuring things out comes a lot of ups and downs. It comes with a lot of emotional turmoil. Like, who am I? What's going on with my body? And along those same lines, a lot of body image stuff going on. Someone's developing earlier than she is. Somebody hasn't developed yet. Whose body looks like what, right? There's a lot of body comparison, especially when it comes to girls. And then you add that to social media and things like that. It's just constant reminders of, do I fit in? Do I look good enough? Am I developing like everyone else is? And that really can weigh on her. So, of course, it's going to impact the way she treats you because she's outwardly expressing some of her inner turmoil with a safe person in her life. I was just speaking with one of my clients recently who feels like her daughter is constantly targeting her. And not to accommodate for that behavior and say that it's okay, but it can be helpful to view it as it's temporary. She's seeing you as the safe person to let out some of her frustrations and her inner anger and the emotional roller coaster. And it doesn't have to be that way forever, and it likely won't. So it may take some patience on your part, in addition to continually asserting your boundaries and sharing your expectations with her. But at the same time, know that this is a moment in time, a season in her development that won't hopefully be going on for very long. So keep that in mind when you start feeling frustrated and you start feeling like a punching bag. So also along the lines of the physical development, when my girls were in Girl Scouts, we hired somebody to come in, like a woman who was going to talk about their developing bodies. She talked about everything from bras to tampons to developing. And there are a couple of things that she talked about that really sat with me and really resonated with me. And I was so glad that my girls heard this message. The first one is to be kind to the girl who's developing first. So that girl in her school who's like the first girl to get her boobs, be compassionate with that person. I even remember that person when I was in elementary school. It was like maybe 6th grade or something. There was that one girl who already was getting boobs, and there were rumors going around about her being promiscuous. She was a 6th grader who just happened to be developing before everyone else. And at the time, I was like, oh, I guess that's what that means, right? And just sending that message, like, be compassionate. And you can do that for her as well. You can tell her about that, to be aware of that, especially if you have a younger girl and you're listening to this, but also be aware of that yourself and recognize that a lot of the time that early developing girl will want to just wear baggy clothes and big sweatshirts just because, and shoulders will slump just to hide that development because of the outward expression and the assumptions that are going to come along with that. The other thing this woman said was to look in the mirror and make friends with what you see in the reflection. Specifically, eye color and height, because those are two things that you can't change. Yes, you can wear colored contacts. Yes, you can wear high-heeled shoes. But other than that, your eye color and your height is your height. So to be accepting of your body as it is, the sooner you can do that, the better. And there's so many layers on that. I've done some podcast episodes on body image. I highly recommend you go back and listen to that. All that to say that these things are all going on as her body is developing. Her social circles are expanding. Her inner world is changing in addition to her outer appearance. It's a lot to take on all at once. So while last week she was your best friend, last week she may not have felt insecure about her body. She may not have even thought about that. And then maybe somebody said something at school, or there's something happened, or an awareness came to her. And now she's like, oh gosh, I don't know who I am anymore. I feel different. I don't know who I'm becoming. And that's a lot to take on, especially at a young age. So quit taking it personally. That's the end note, and also kind of the overarching theme for this whole episode. Do your very best. Do your own personal self-care so that you don't have this harsh negative impact to what she's going on the inside. Now, the next one, tip number 2, is to let her experiment with fashion choices, hair color, music taste. she's going to be going through a lot of different iterations of who she's going to become. So just because she dyed her hair purple and is listening to Slipknot doesn't mean that she's going to be whatever you're assuming she's going to be on the dark side as she grows up. Maybe you can appreciate Slipknot. I know I have. I've come to listen to and appreciate Slipknot and purple hair color. The key is to check your expectations. And kind of on the opposing side, maybe she's thinking she needs to go get the latest fashion choice, or she wants to look like so-and-so at school. She wants to fit in. And you see that as like, why do you want to be like everyone else? Come on, be yourself. Just know that these are phases that she's going through as she figures out who she is, and drop the judgment of it. Drop the judgment. She's going to figure it out. She is figuring it out. And this experimentation is really just part of that. Okay. Also know that when your fears are affecting your ability to support her, it's just in a reaction or response to you feeling like you are losing control, and also your expectations are not being met. You thought she was going to be one way and you're looking at her and you're like, wow, this is not what I was expecting. Or you're seeing her behavior. Wow, this is not what I thought she would do. That's your inner work. That's not hers. So support her along the way, encourage her to figure out who she is, celebrate the directions that she goes, even if you are unfamiliar with it and don't understand it. The next one, this is a really big one, is to be wary of social media. And this is especially for girls. Studies have shown that the impacts of social media is greater on females than on males, especially on their mental health. And that's all due to social comparison, the visual social comparison of the body, the clothes, the hair, the makeup. There's a reason why all of these girls went to go to Sephora and buy the latest makeup, because they saw somebody putting it on and they're like, I want to look like that. I want to be cool like that. Or I don't want to look like that, right? It's letting that outer exposure, or sorry, that outer exterior, the exterior match who she wants to be on the inside. So check social media. My advice always is to wait as long as you can, potentially until 16 or older, to even allow her to have access to her own account. That's what I recommend. And also fight back, right? Just fight back against that narrative that all of the girls need to have social media to be connected. And I did a whole episode on how to hold space for your teenager when you are holding that boundary and other parents don't have the same rules. And have conversations, especially when it comes to body image and the things that she's seeing, about what does it mean to be beautiful and where did these ideologies come from? Who decided that this hair color was more beautiful? Who decided that this body shape is more beautiful? Talk about it. Have these conversations. And who's saying it? And let her create her own narrative of what is beautiful. And it's so much easier to do that when she's not bombarded with images and beliefs about what's beautiful on a daily basis, notifications and streaming and scrolling through. It's better if she has limited access to that. The next one is to let her prioritize her friends over family. And that's not all of the time. Of course, it's important to hang out as a family, but going back to quit taking it personally, know that her priority right now is social. Being with her friends is her number one priority. So that means that she may want to hang out with her friend on a Saturday night versus watching a movie with the family. It's not because she doesn't like you. It's just because she would prefer to be with peers. And that's good. That's a normal part of her development. So don't make her feel guilty. Encourage her to have fun. Encourage her to have independence. And then also really prioritize the time that you do have together and allow that to be really focused and intentional when it happens. And again, it comes down to your expectations. If you're having this expectation that she's going to be your best friend and watch Lifetime movies on the couch all winter long, and then she decides that she would rather hang out with her friends and you're crushed, it's not her fault. It's yours for having that expectation. Yes, you want to do these things, but also recognize that her priorities may not line up with yours, especially with how she wants to spend her time. So encourage her to be with her friends. It's good for her. It's good part of her development, social and emotional. And then my next tip is to, at the age of 10, which I know is not a teenager, but for girls it kind of is, allow for the slow release into adulthood. This is kind of a subset of all of the tips. So here's how you can do it. So around age 10, let her go out independently in places where she feels, you feel she'd be safe. That would mean maybe going to a mall where she's walking around with her friends and you maybe are there, but you're not with them. Allowing her to have more of an independent life outside of the house, letting her make her own decisions, potentially letting her take charge of some of her homework, not checking in on all of that. Of course, it depends on how she is with being independent, but beginning that phase of letting her come to you versus constantly being the one directing. So that's at around the age of 10. Then when she is in middle school, more encouraging for independence around the house, chores, in school, allowing her to take on more responsibility, spending more time with friends without you around, without you asking questions, without you making the decisions about what they're going to do. You're more of a mentor than the manager at this point. And really just provide a space for her to come to you. Then as she gets into early high school, this is when you're going to start treating her like an adult. Not 100%, but you're getting pretty darn close because she's in 9th and 10th grade at this point. In a couple of years, potentially she will be out of the house and on her own. You don't want that to be a shock to her system. So you're at this point becoming more of a consultant to where if she's needing to make decisions or if she's having some challenges, your door is open. Come on in. I will consult you on this. I will be a good listener for you. I'll let you make the decisions. And along these same lines, let her take risks. Let her do things that you're not sure about. Of course, calculated, not just, dangerous and reckless, but let her do things that are scary for her. Let her do things that will lead to failure, maybe, right? Let her do the things that she will need to know how to do when she's an adult. Mowing the lawn, getting your oil changed, decorating your room, getting a job. All of these things come around early high school. And then you've got late high school, 11th and 12th grade. She's mostly an adult at this point. I know that there are exceptions to the rule. Every teen develops at a different phase. But by the time she's in 11th and 12th grade, she's potentially driving. She's maybe has a job. She's got her friends. She's figuring out what she wants to do after high school. Stop getting all up in her business. Stop micromanaging her grades. Let her experience the ups and downs. So if she forgets an assignment, she forgets the assignment. Her grade dips. Yes, that's going to impact the chances of her getting into college. Yes, but these are all things that she's going to learn along the way. So this is where literally she's an adult under your roof. Then the transition into actual adulthood isn't like a smack in the face for either of you. She's already been living like an adult. And that's going to build her confidence. That's going to help her feel like she can actually handle it when she does leave the house. She's not going to be like some of my clients that I've worked with thinking, wait, I'm turning 18 next month. I still feel like I'm 13 years old. I don't know anything about being an adult. And I speak as the parent of two teenagers who are completely different from one another. One required a lot more hand-holding. One was basically born an adult. So I know it's dependent upon your specific teenager. And I say this with that full awareness. But if you want your daughter to be prepared to be an adult, you need to let her be an adult under your roof. You need to let her come home after midnight. Of course, with a discussion about it. That's what I do with my daughter. Like, when's a good time for you to come home? Just so I know, and I'm not laying awake with my eyes open with panic. That still happens. But you're having a conversation. You're not just laying down the law. the curfew is 11 and if you're a minute late, then XYZ. No. If she's nearing adulthood, she should be part of that decision making. And also questioning for yourself why those rules are even there. So that is all part of you helping her feel confident when she leaves the house. And it starts, of course, the day she's born, but really the teen years when she's 10. So the next one really goes in line with everything that I've been talking about, and that is to keep the lines of communication open. Be a place where she feels comfortable talking or not talking, where she doesn't feel like she's going to be grilled on everything. But at the same time, she can talk about what she wants to talk about without being judged or feeling like you're going to critique every little thing. And this is just another reminder from my workshop, How to Talk So Your Teen Will Listen. All of the things I'm teaching in that workshop will help with this clear, compassionate communication so that she actually hears you when you're saying the things that you really want her to know. Let it be easy. Let it be low pressure. Ask her if she'd like you to support her with things, but also be sure to talk about the things that are most important to you, the things that you value, the things you really want her to know, like how to say no, how to set boundaries, self-advocate, what to do when she feels unsafe, how to protect her body and her mind, and have a clear baseline for the things that you definitely want her to know about. And even if you're met with eye rolls, let her know that this is a non-negotiable and I have to talk to you about these things. Even if it's uncomfortable, that's what we do in this family. We talk about the uncomfortable things. We don't shut down. We don't avoid them. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be annoyed. But I, as your parent, need you to know these things. And she'll feel supported through that. The next one is to be compassionate and understanding. So validating her experiences as she's going through these ups and downs, as she goes through the turmoils, as she goes through the stress, through the overwhelm. Keep the talking about yourself and your teen experience to a minimum. She doesn't want to hear the hour-long story of what it was like for you when you were her age. Okay, she doesn't. I'm sorry to say it. But you can talk about it, yes, but avoid it with the lecture form. And that's where you can practice the next acronym, one of my very favorites, and that is WAIT. Why am I talking? Ask yourself this all of the time when you're talking to her. She'll want to come to you more often when she doesn't feel like she's going to get locked into a lecture every time she comes, okay? And then just keep reminding her that all of the experiences that she's going through are normal, understandable, and that you're there to help her find support if she's needing it and when she's needing it. And the next one is to point out the good. This is so easy to overlook when you get busy with life, when you start thinking about her future or worrying about what she's doing with her life, to ask, check, remind, but be sure that you are the bright light in her world, the person that knows she can do it no matter what. Even when things are going downhill, even when she fails, especially when she fails, you're pointing out the good. And that's not spiritual bypassing. That's not everything is butterflies and rainbows. No. What I mean is you are the person who will tell her that she's doing an amazing job, even when she feels like she's a big fat failure. And she will believe it in her core when you say it and it's authentic on a regular basis. So avoid the nitpicking, choose your battles. It's likely she's already pretty hard on herself, so she doesn't need you to add to that. And with all of this, the most important thing is that you take care of yourself. Because raising a teenager, having a teenage girl, especially if you are a woman, can be highly triggering because you're seeing her experience things that you experience, and it's like secondhand emotions. You get drawn in. It's only natural, especially if you are an empath like I am. You feel it all on a deeper level, and you get pulled into her ups and downs. That's why it's so important for you to work on regulating your emotions and checking your expectations managing your energy in a way that really suits you because it's tough and it's a really rough ride sometimes. I'm saying this as a mom of a 17 and 19-year-old. It does get easier. And the better you're able to take care of yourself through this all, the better you'll be able to support her through it all. And if you're interested in having support in this time, definitely schedule a consultation with me. Learn more about my one-on-one coaching to help you navigate these challenging times so that you can help develop her into the most resilient, confident human being that she's meant to be. So, thanks for tuning in. Hang in there, and I'll see you next time.